Hey everyone, DylanBandicoot here with what I think is the final video for Bandicoot Month 2022. And what a better way to end off my first Bandicoot Month than with my top 10 Crash Bandicoot games. Wow! A lot of people are going to be mad at me for this one, but first up on number 10 I have Crash Bash. I know that this game doesn't exactly hold up well, but hear me out. Crash Bash is the very first Crash game that wasn't developed by Naughty Dog, and it's also his last PlayStation exclusive game. Crash Bash is a party game with a focus on minigames. Here's the issue though, on why this game doesn't exactly hold up well. Even though the minigames are pretty fun, the game keeps repeating the same minigames over and over again with slightly different versions. You play pinball 4 different times with slightly different rules. The same thing goes for the Polar Panic minigames, and the Pogo minigames, and the Bash minigames, and the Tank minigames, and so on. Simply put, this game is repetitive, and the single player campaign is the only way to unlock all minigames in versus mode. But guess what? The adventure mode gets brutally difficult very quickly. What? Well, at least most of the bosses are pretty decent. I almost included Papu Pummel and Burminator in my top 10 Crash Bandicoot bosses video actually, but they didn't make the cut. Despite all the issues this game has though, I still really love it. Yes, I know that this is a bad game, but it's a bad game that I have a lot of fond memories with. It made me laugh out loud so many times in my life. I had fun playing the adventure mode and co-op with my sister. The soundtrack is fantastic, and I just have a lot of nostalgia for this game. Simply put, Crash Bash is a bad game that makes me happy despite everything, and that's why this game barely made it on this list instead of all the Crash games that didn't make it in this top 10. What's up with the polar bear sound effects though? Sounds like a dying seal or something. On number 9 I have Crash Nitro Kart. This game has always fascinated me. This game is a sequel to Crash Team Racing, however, instead of choosing one character to play with in adventure mode, you instead choose a team of 3 characters. There's Team Bandicoot, which consists of Crash, Coco and Crunch, and then there's Team Cortex, consisting of Cortex, Engine and Tiny. The cool thing about this is the fact that every single cutscene has 2 different versions depending on which team you've chosen. This means that you basically have to complete this game twice if you want to see everything, and that is a really cool way to give a game replayability in my opinion. Gameplay wise though, this is a slower and less enjoyable version of CTR. Still fun in its own way though. They also implemented anti-gravity in some of the racetracks, which is so freaking awesome. And this game did it 11 years before Mario Kart 8 even came out. Take that, Plumber Boy Mustache Man! I actually played the GBA version of Nitro Kart first, and this one is also worth mentioning in my opinion. The physics feel a lot more closer to that of CTR, which actually sometimes makes this version more fun to play. There's also more playable characters, such as the boss characters and even Spyro the Dragon. Sadly enough, Burra had to be sacrificed for him though. This version of the game is also ridiculously easy to complete. I think this may actually be the first game I've 100% completed in my life ever. 7-year-old me was so proud of himself. And the soundtrack of the GBA version is so freaking underrated, especially Barin Ruins. If Crash ever joins Super Smash Bros. One day, then I hope they make a medley filled with grand remixes of the GBA version of Nitro Kart's soundtrack. How cool will that be? But yeah, basically both versions are worth playing in my opinion. If you have one version of the game but not the other, then I definitely recommend getting the other. On number 8 I have an entirely different racing game that I personally don't even consider a racing game. Crash Tag Team Racing. Tag Team Racing is a racing game with a big focus on overworld exploration similar to a 3D collectathon platformer. I absolutely love this! This is the closest the Crash Bandicoot franchise has ever gotten to a 3D collectathon adventure. It's not perfect, but damn is it a good start. In this game you explore a theme park where you can collect Wumpa coins, complete missions for various characters in order to unlock more characters and cards, And you can even kill people! Okay, not really, but you can beat everyone up in this game though. Yeah, take that, losers! Enjoying your ice cream? Well, screw you! Hey Coco, it's time for your daily punishment!
Wait till I tell Crunch. You're a toast, buddy.
Oh yeah, this is a racing game. I should probably talk about that. It's alright. Not good, not bad, just okay. Kinda boring and bland sometimes though. But hey, there's this cool fusion mechanic that lets you work together with one of your opponents, which lets you shoot people. Now this is kinda cool. That's about it though. To be honest, I just see the racing in this game as just a really big blown out minigame in a 3D collectathon that already has a decent amount of minigames and missions to earn power crystals with in order to progress the story anyway. It's fine I guess, but I prefer earning my power crystals on foot rather than in a cart. The stunt arenas are really fun though. I could spend hours with these. I also really like the dioramas in this game. They're like death animation cutscenes made for a game where you can't actually die. Cool idea to create death animations in a game like this anyway. I enjoy them.
Wait, dioramas? It's a pun? How did I never notice that before?
The gags are pretty funny too.
Best loading screen ever! I mean, how many loading screens at a time and even now give me something fun to do?
I will always love this game for giving us a taste of what a 3D collectathon crash adventure could be like. I actually expected this game to be higher on this list actually, but it doesn't hold up as well as I remember to be honest. Now can we get some actual 3D collectathon crash games please? I have so many good ideas that could potentially fill up an entire trilogy of collectathons for Crash. I'm convinced this is the next direction Crash has to go in. For number 7, I picked two games because of how similar they are. It's the duology for the Game Boy Advance, Crash Bandicoot The Huge Adventure and Tranced. I've recently played these games for the very first time, this year actually, and I fell in love with them immediately. These games basically grabbed a bunch of assets and ideas from Crash 2 and 3, and in the case of Tranced even the Wrath of Cortex, and made it into a 2D platformer for the GBA. This is brilliant and super fun if you love the original Naughty Dog games. The Huge Adventure took most of its inspiration from Crash 2 when it comes to most of the levels, but in terms of boss fights, warp rooms, unlockable power-ups, etc., it took a bunch from Crash 3 instead. And Tranced, on the other hand, focuses a lot on levels from Crash 3 while taking a couple of ideas from Wrath of Cortex as well. And everything else, including the unlockable power-ups and boss battles, are completely original. Neat! Both games even have a true final boss battle along with the true ending, something that previous Crash games never did. In previous Crash games, all you got was the true ending and most of the time you had to fight the same exact final boss all over again. Boring. I also really admire all the original ideas that Tranced specifically brought to the table. I wish more third-party Crash games were this creative during this era of Crash. I do admit though, I slightly prefer the Huge Adventure despite the fact that it's a less original game than Tranced. The reason? Tranced sometimes has some really unfair level designs and boss fights that can get really frustrating, and some of the brand new original abilities are questionable at best. Also, the Huge Adventure has a level named Snow Job. That automatically makes this the better game of the GBA duology. Next up is probably the most ambitious Crash game of all time, Twinsanity. This is the most hilarious Crash game of all time. It says so in the back of the box. This game takes place 3 years after the Wrath of Cortex, which ended with Cortex and Uka Uka getting stranded on the South Pole. Well, look who's back. When I was little, I always thought Cortex kills Coco at the beginning of the game and then strips her clothes off her dead body so he can wear them to trick Crash. My childhood brain wasn't messed up, yours is! Anyway, this game isn't just about Crash, it's also about Cortex. Heck, you could almost say that Cortex is the true main character of this game. Cortex is absolutely fantastic in this game. He gets all the good moments.
Are you sure? Well, the past few years have kind of been slow. Wrath of Cortex didn't do as well as we'd hoped, and... Fish?
In this game, Crash and Cortex have to try to work together to stop the mysterious evil twins. With try being the keyword here, of course. This leads to some very fun and unique ways to play a Crash game, such as Crash and Cortex holding hands, I mean crystals, in order to control both at the same time. Be careful not to throw Cortex off a cliff though. You can even use him as a snowboard!
Coming through! Ladies? Excuse me, madam. Are those real? Mother?
You can also play as Cortex's daughter or niece, Nina Cortex. She has an interesting playstyle that focuses on her grapple hook. One thing that I really like as well about this game is the way the 3D space is used this time. Most levels are less linear than usual in the franchise, and there's even 6 hidden gems in each level that let you unlock various things such as concept art and cutscenes. And can we take some time to appreciate the amazing a cappella soundtrack by Spiral Mouth as well? Twinsanity has the potential to become the best Crash game ever, but because of its rushed development, the game feels very janky, which sometimes makes the game more difficult than probably intended. A bunch of levels got cut too, sadly enough, and even Coco as a playable character got cancelled. Yeah, this game desperately needs a remake slash reimagining that is even more ambitious than originally intended. Let's hope it happens one day. It's about freaking time! In 2020, we finally got a brand new mainline Crash Bandicoot game. Thank God! Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time is currently the newest Crash Bandicoot game, and oh boy, the toys for Bob deliver. Traditional gameplay? Check. Playable Coco where you can use at any level you want? Check. Brand new mechanics never seen before in a traditional Crash game? Check. Crash 4 takes place in a brand new split timeline, as if we didn't have enough of those already, that takes place immediately after Crash 3. In this game, Crash can finally rail grind and run on walls, but that's not everything, as this time there are also the brand new Quantum Masks. These give you really cool new abilities that completely change the way you have to approach traditional Crash gameplay, such as phasing objects in and out of existence, having a very floaty spin attack, slowing down time which even lets you jump on nitros, and of course flipping gravity. This is in my opinion the highest quality original third-party Crash game. No rush development, no major jankiness, and best of all, no weird and unnecessary redesigns that make my favorite characters unrecognizable. Just a brand new take on classic Crash at its finest. And hey, there are brand new characters you can play with too. You can play with Dingo Doll using his brand new vacuum cannon. Cortex is of course playable too, because why shouldn't he be? And last but not least, there's an alternate universe version of Donna. Very clever way of bringing her back without actually bringing her back. These 3 characters are super fun to play with, and they all have unique playstyles. But there is an issue. Most levels where you play as them are super short segments that eventually will force you to play the final section of a Crash and Coco level again with slightly different crate placements. Well, that sucks. I want to play more with them! I don't recommend completing this game though. If you casually play this game, then you're playing one of the best platformers ever made. If you try to complete this game though, you're basically stuck in what feels like eternal hell. Toys for Bob really overdid it with the extra gem goals and insanely perfect relics which force you to beat a level without dying while also collecting all the gems. And of course, the time trials are back, but for the first time ever, they suck. That's a shame. I don't mind the inverted levels that much though, weirdly enough. I think these are very fun ways to re-experience the game's levels all over again. Yeah, some of the filters are boring, but the ones I'm showing you right now are really good in my opinion. Let's hope we don't have to wait 12 years for another Crash game this time though. I really like the original Crash Bandicoot, but let's be real here, it doesn't exactly hold up very well. There's a definitive version of this game now in the Sane Trilogy. Now you can abuse a boar in HD! Crash, no! The remake of Crash 1 fixed every issue the original game had. The controls are tighter, you can save whenever you want, bonus rounds no longer go away, and they even have more purpose this time. And of course, the best change is the fact that you are now allowed to die in a level if you want to collect clear gems by breaking all crates. You still have to beat a level without dying to get the color gems though, which is fine with the better controls to be honest. It's perfectly doable and not that hard if you're a veteran of the series. And hey look, they gave Papu Papu more hit points this time. Doesn't exactly make him harder though, but it's fun that the fight lasts just a little bit longer now nonetheless. The insane version of Crash 1 is the perfect game to just pick up and play from beginning to end in one single sitting, and that is just really swell. The original Crash Team Racing still holds up well till this day, which has always been pretty mind-blowing. However, despite the fact that it holds up so well, we got a remake anyway in the form of Crash Team Racing Nitro fueled. However, here's the cool thing, this game has a buttload of extra content. First of all, every single racetrack, kart and character from Nitro Kart is in this game, just like that. It's amazing. Sure, they removed the anti-gravity mechanic to make it more in line with CTR, but I actually like the tracks better this way. And then there are the many customization options as well for both your karts and characters, some of which even reference different Crash games, such as Princess Coco from Tag Team Racing. And to top it all off, we also had a ridiculous amount of free updates with loads more customization options, brand new characters and even brand new racetracks. Baby Coco was a mistake though. This remake doesn't even feel like a remake anymore. This feels more like a brand new game at this point, and I'm all here for it. The controls have also been refined as well. The original already played like a dream, but oh boy, Beanox somehow found a way to make the game feel even more satisfying and fun to control. They even implemented the perfect drift mechanic from Nitro Kart. Now that's cute. And hey, they even added a brand new driving style. And in an update, they even added an option that lets you use any driver you want with any driving style you want. This is a game changer, and I wish Mario Kart would copy this as well, just like how they copied anti-gravity in the past. I also like how CTR has an adventure mode as well. This adventure mode was actually inspired by Diddy Kong Racing. I appreciate that. This alien called Nitrous Oxide wants to challenge planet Earth to a racing competition. If Earth's best driver wins, he will leave us alone, but if Oxide wins, then he will turn our entire globe into a parking lot and make us his slaves. Crash and the gang to the rescue. This is definitely my favorite racing game of all time. On number 2, I have Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back. Both the original and the Insane Trilogy versions. I think they're both equally as good, and I like switching between them depending on my mood. Crash 2 is in my opinion the golden standard for what a sequel has to be. You basically take the concept of the first game, fix literally every issue that the first game had, and then you add some extra brand new elements to refine the formula. Heck, I'd even argue that Crash 2 has the best platforming in the entire series. Almost every single level is a platforming stage. There's a couple of vehicle levels, but these are in the big minority here. And the ones that are here are all super fun and control really well. Yes, I actually like the jetpack controls and never had any issues with them. Now leave me alone. I don't really have that much more to say about this game because I literally uploaded an entire video about this game very recently. So maybe you should check that out after you're done watching this video. But come on, let's give it up for DJ Crash one last time!
Sony Computer Entertainment Europe presents a Universal Interactive Studios production. A game created and developed by Naughty Dog. Crash Bandicoot Month! Press start to begin.
Oh, this sends chills down my spines every single time! On number 1, I have, of course, Crash Bandicoot Warped. This is probably the Crash game I played the most, not just when I was a child, but in my life in general. And yes, just like with Crash 2, I like the original and Sane versions equally, and I like to switch around with them depending on my mood as well. Both are fantastic. The reason I like this game the most is for one simple reason. Nostalgia. This was the second Crash game I owned. It was a million times more playable than the first, it was more colorful, there were way more abilities to play around with, and it was just a mind-blowing experience for me in general. Yes, this game has way too many vehicle levels and not enough platforming ones, and yes, this game is ridiculously easy, but that's the thing. I was 3 years old when I first played this. Isn't an easy game with a lot of variety, perfect for the growth of a children's brain? Having to adapt to different situations with different controls was so much fun and very satisfying at the time. Being able to play with Coco, even if it's only in vehicle stages, was great too. And the music, oh the music! Josh Mansell really knocked it out of the park with this one. This game has banger after banger after banger. Such a fantastic soundtrack that really sticks with you for life. I even used to have a bird that would always remember and whistle along to most of the soundtrack. The walkthrough music especially was obviously her favorite. This is also the Crash game that introduced the time trials. I'm sad to say though that in my opinion this is one of the only Crash games where the time trials are actually fun. This game has also some of the most clever secret levels I've ever played in both the way you discover them and the levels themselves. So satisfying and so much fun. And hey, you can put this wizard in his underwear by attacking him. When we were little, my sister and I used to call him the woman with the bra. I don't know how we exactly saw a bra on him, but hey, low poly graphics, am I right?
And that was my top 10 Crash games. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I think that's it for this year's Bandicoot Month as well. I hope you all enjoyed the various Bandicoot Month videos this year, and hopefully we can do this next year too. If you liked this video, then don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. This was DylanBandicoot, and hopefully I'll see you again next time. Bye!